はい、皆様大変お待たせいたしました。次の、ゲストスピーカーは、猿渡シャノン助教授でございまして、純心大学にお勤めでございます。長崎の純心大学にお勤めです。先生の、データもですね、こちらの、リソースというところを押していただいて、スピーカーのところを押していただくと、先生の情報が出てきます。猿渡シャノン先生ですね。純真の大学で、ユニバーシティの方で英語の関係のお仕事されています。えーこちらの先生は長崎純心カトリック大学の助教授です。言語、文化、情報学科の英語コミュニケーションプログラム責任者を務めております。応用言語学のバックグラウンドを持ち、これまで主に言語及び英語教育に焦点を当ててまいりました。最近の巡礼体験とそこから得たインスピレーションをもとに、今後は遠隔共同学習と英語学習を平和研究につなげる研究を進めたいと考えております。核兵器に対する大学の姿勢と長崎という立地を踏まえ、今こそ学生とともに、特に国境を越えた平和構築をより積極的に推進すべき時だと感じています。シャノンはアメリカ合衆国モンタナ州の出身です。3人の幼い子供を持つ母親として仕事と家庭で忙しい日々を送っていますが、これ以上の幸せはありません。旅行、音楽鑑賞、日本のお笑い番組、そして温泉を楽しむことが趣味です。という先生でございます。では、ニールさん、お願いいたします。
Okay,
English, please.
welcome, Shannon Sensei. I'm just going to do a quick introduction in English and then we'll begin. So, thank you. Shannon Sensei is an assistant professor at Nagasaki Junshin Catholic University. She is head of the English communication program in the Department of Language, Culture, and Information Science. With a background in applied linguistics, her focus until recently has mostly been on language and English education. With her experience on and inspired by the recent pilgrimage, she hopes to conduct future research on telecollaboration and connecting English learning to peace studies. Due to the university's stance on nuclear weapons, as well as being situated in Nagasaki, she feels now is the time to more actively pursue peace building with her students, especially across international borders. Shannon comes from a great state of Montana in the USA. A mother of three young children, she is kept busy with her work and family, but wouldn't have it any other way. Of course, it's fantastic. She enjoys traveling, listening to music, Japanese Owari TV programs, and hot springs. So, welcome, Shannon Sensei, and thank you for preparing and uh, giving us this presentation today.
You're
お願いいたし
welcome.
ます。
よろしくお願いします。Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful warm welcome and the introductions. I'll just go ahead and share my screen right from the start so that uh,
Okay.
all right. So um, all right. Yes, my name is Shannon Saruwatashi. I'm an assistant professor at Nagasaki Junshin Catholic University. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak here at the summit this weekend. Um, I'm excited to share my story with you. It's not so much, I guess, a presentation as much as a just kind of a story of what I did at the beginning of August that really changed my outlook in a lot of ways, but it was really important, and I'm hoping that I can make a connection between peace studies and my classes, my students, even my family who lives here in Nagasaki full time, but we can get into that later. So, a little bit about me. My background is in applied linguistics. I never, other than just learning and reading what was mandatory for for peace in the United States, and then um, when I had to do a little, my first degree is in Japanese language, and then my master's is in applied linguistics. But To get the Japanese language degree, I had to, of course, study the history. And at that time, I studied a bit about Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and I read quite a few authors who are connected to that time period. And but other than that, I hadn't done much until I came to Nagasaki Junshin Catholic University. And peace studies are going pretty strong here, and we're trying to push them even harder now that it's the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's the university's 90th anniversary of our foundation. In another 10 years, it'll be 100. And recently, I've been thinking in the next 10 years, I'd really like to see what I can do. And so I've been putting up my hand and volunteering, and next month I'll have another event that I'll attend for the first time and hope to take my children with me and get them involved. We'll see how well that goes. They're still quite young and not exactly aware fully of just what peace studies entails and what it truly means and how vital peace is. But I'd like to get them there. So the point of that is that my background is in applied linguistics, but I'm trying to veer part way towards peace studies as well. Originally, I did research in learner motivation and effective barriers. Telecollaboration came after that, mostly because of the pandemic. But also it's a way to get our students connected to native English speaking students around the world. And we had a class here for many years that was an online collaboration class with several universities in Europe, one in the United States as well. So that got me kind of hooked on telecollaboration. And then also because I do run the English communication department here, but I've also been working with the early childhood development department. They need some foundational English in order to become teachers, the students. Um, they're pre-service teachers, so they're studying to become teachers. And so I work with them quite a bit too. And so um, looking at needs, what kind of needs they need in schools at that age, especially in elementary school and even preschool, because the national curriculum and the Ministry of Education here has some guidelines in place down through elementary school, but only through fifth and sixth grade officially. Um, they do learn English first through fourth grade, but it's not quite up to par with, I think, your normal standards, your normal worldwide standards. So that's something that I feel pretty strongly about. And even in preschool, they could get started just with fun, casual communication. So that's something that I've been working on as well. And now peace studies is added on to that. With my experience on the pilgrimage this year in August, which was August 5th through 10th, I really kind of felt a calling that I needed to be doing this more and start to learn about it more. And it really did move me to become more active. So I'm very grateful for this pilgrimage. What the pilgrimage was originally last September, a professor in the United States contacted me, originally from Japan, but he's now at Northwestern University in Illinois in Chicago, and he was planning on bringing a group, 50 to 60 member strong group over from the United States, and of course. That sounds pretty daunting, but when we got the call and the my dean asked who can help out with this, not that I didn't feel I had a choice, but I thought, well, okay, I think this is my job as head of the English communication section. So I raised my hand and didn't look back, which I don't regret at all. It was a very busy year getting ready for this. I was one of several coordinators uh, who helped with different steps along the way. and they went to Hiroshima first and then came to Nagasaki, and I helped with mainly Nagasaki, but I met the pilgrims in Hiroshima as well. So it was sponsored by a partnership, the Partnership for a World Without Nuclear Weapons, which was created in 2023 by 4 dioceses affected by the development of nuclear weapons. Those would be the dioceses in Santa Fe, in New Mexico, Seattle, Hiroshima, and here in Nagasaki. And the universities that were represented were Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., Loyola University in Chicago, Marquette University in Wisconsin, the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, Sophia University in Tokyo, and then my university here in Nagasaki. So the pilgrims started before I go on. Oh no, we're missing sometimes I apologize. I don't know why my Canva sometimes leaves pictures out, but some of the everyone who came over was important, of course. But some very important members came on the pilgrimage, and of course we had Archbishop Wester from Santa Fe as one of the members from PNWN, the partner or PWNW, I'm sorry, the Partnership for a World Without Nuclear Weapons, and Archbishop Etienne from Seattle. And then we also had Cardinals Supich from Chicago and McElroy from Washington, D.C. join. And so that was pretty special. And to get to hear them speak was amazing. Then we had guests like President Dowd from the University of Notre Dame, Emil Sakuda, who's the secretary for the Pontifical Commission for Latin America, and Michael Garanzini, who I'm sorry, I don't know why his picture didn't come through, president in America of the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities, as well as the international section as well. So we had some very knowledgeable, very special people on board with us, and it was really kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to travel with them and hear them speak and learn from them. So first we started in Hiroshima, and as a coordinator in Nagasaki, I felt very grateful that I got to join in Hiroshima, and I also, as a resident of Japan, was kind of a bit of a guide in Hiroshima and translator and helped out with logistics. But I was very grateful that they let me tag along and join them in their activities. So we visited places like museums, hypocenters. They spoke with atomic bomb survivors, met with local officials. There were daily masses, which was really incredible to go every day and pray together and just be in the same space together with the same frame of mind and the same kind of hopes for peace and praying. And that was really incredible. So the academic event, we had academic events in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In Hiroshima, there was an event called Peace and Nuclear Disarmament, Catholic Perspectives. And we had many people on the pilgrimage were guest speakers talking about their own experiences, their own knowledge, and looking at peace and nuclear disarmament through a Catholic lens, because the opinion, kind of the uniform opinion, was the church can't really stand still and can't be neutral. There was a lot of talk about just war, and it's a bit of an oxymoron. There is no such thing as just when it comes to war. So it was very very intense. They were here for about a week, and there were beautiful moving events that we had together. There were events like this that really they were pretty intense, and you had to stop and think. So, but I'm grateful for it all. the in the World Peace Memorial Cathedral, the Mass on the morning of August 6th, which is when the bomb was dropped in Hiroshima, right at 8 o'clock. That Mass was really beautiful, and to be there with all the members from the pilgrimage, most who had not been into Japan before, but especially who were there on such an important day to experience at near ground zero or to be at ground zero and to experience that kind of mass and those special prayers and that feeling that shared feeling between everybody who was there for this call to peace and nuclear disarmament was really incredible. On the next day, on August 7th, we went to the former Jesuit novitiate in Hiroshima in a neighborhood called Nagasaki. And this I had never been there. It was a beautiful morning, very hot morning here in um very hot morning. So in Hiroshima that day. But it was just so peaceful. We learned a lot about Father Pedro Arupe, who um, he was working there at novitiate with students at the time of the blast, and thankfully the novitiate here is this house, this building here in the center at the top. And it was thankfully protected from the blast because they're behind a hill, so it didn't receive the full impact of the blast, but of course windows and some things shattered. But to learn about Father Pedro Arupe's story and he and his students and the other people there on site at the time, the same day started walking towards the city after if you can imagine walking towards the city after that happened, looking for survivors, looking for people who needed help. And he and the fellow Jesuits helped hundreds of people there here at the novitiate. And it's it's just being there was just this powerful reminder of what we can do when we work together. And he saved a lot of lives. A lot of people were able to come back, recover. Of course, not everyone made it, but the number of lives that he and his fellow Jesuits saved over the course, the next few weeks and months after that, just really moved all of us. And we were treated to a special here morning mass at the novitiate, which was hot. No air conditioning, just some ones that were set up in the room. But we all it didn't matter. It was just really beautiful. And afterwards, everyone walked up to the top of the hill that protected the novitiate to look out over the city, and then everyone held hands and gathered and sang and prayed, and it was a really glorious morning. So that was incredible. Oh, I went too far. That's what happens when you do that. So after that, we all got onto a train, a bullet train, which is very convenient here, and headed for Nagasaki. So in Nagasaki, we had 3 days of events, and the big event for us, we had two big events here at the university. Um, and one of our big events was called Encounters in Hope. But before we get to that, I need to back up and let you know what's happening here in this picture because in July we had to do some prep for this. And August 8th was the big student focus day where the students kind of took center stage and the spotlight was on them. And so in July, we met twice online in quite a big group. And the goal for these two online meetings was, first of all, to get students warmed up to each other, especially our students here in Japan, the ones at Sophia University and the ones here at my university in Nagasaki. Get them warmed up and have everybody meet each other, the students from the States and then the students here in Japan, so that they would feel less overwhelmed or shy in August when everyone actually came. And so here it's in Japanese, but this just explains that the first meeting on the in the beginning of July, it was just for self-introductions. It was just kind of casual talk, talking about family, what they study at school, do they have any pets, and also to practice conversation in the spirit. And this is something I had never heard of prior to joining the pilgrimage. And Dean Peter Jones at Loyola University in Chicago is the one who came up with this idea. And at first I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, but it ended up being amazing. And I will explain this as we go through the day on August 8th. But they had to practice, even though the conversation was not that difficult. It was difficult in the sense for our Japanese students that they had to use English. They could resort to Japanese. Thankfully, thank you to AI and current technology, I was able to do translated captions, which I added onto my account so that they had that capability. But it was for them to get used to this conversation in the spirit while using possibly English, unless they switched to Japanese, which they could do. And then, so the first one was for them to get used to the conversation method with casual talking, and then the second meeting is was a little bit more serious, talking about their own experience living here in Japan. Most of them here in the ones from Sofia, of course, are mostly from Tokyo. Mine, all but one, are from Nagasaki. So, talking about their own experiences with peace studies or with nuclear issues. And so, this is just a little bit of a idea of what happened online with my students. And these are two of my students who did a great job using English, even though they were completely nervous.
Listened to the stories of people who experienced the atomic bombing. And every year on August 9, I went to school, cried, and watched videos about the atomic bomb. Through three experiences, I became interested in peace. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Manami. We'll take 30 seconds to reflect. So that's part of the conversation method that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Conversation in the spirit requires reflection after each speaker, and nobody speaks over the other speaker. So this was something that we practiced in breakout rooms, in groups, so that they got used to it. And I think it felt a little bit strange, especially for the Japanese students at first. But once we figured it out, got used to it. Okay, and I'd like to call really valuable. AIA. Could you please answer the same question?
Okay. Why am I interested in reconciliation and peace building? Because I was born and grew up in Nagasaki Prefecture. So when I was from elementary to high school student, I learned about peace and peace building at the school. So it was common for me to think about peace. and also it is my family and friends. So to protect them, I think we have to keep peace and no war. So it is very
Okay, so I think I was getting ready for something coming up after she spoke, which is why I have that covering her face. And I just wanted you to get an idea of what the students did in these breakout room sessions. And they each took turns one at a time, no talking over the other one. And that's part of the method, which I'll go over here shortly. And these were the questions that they had to answer um, quite a bit, um, quite a bit harder in the second session, which was at the end of July. The first session, nice and casual, easy topics, and then here in the second one, number one, why are you interested in reconciliation and peace building? Number two, how did the bombings in 1945 impact your family and community? And number three, how much do the bombings 80 years ago affect the way you see things or think about things? So they met, so we had the students meet July twice online, and then when they actually arrived in Nagasaki on the 7th, we were ready for them on the morning of the 8th. And so Encounters in Hope was an event that we held. Our university sponsored this. At our university is actually we have a junior high school, preschool, and we have several branches in Japan as well as one in uh, Brazil, I believe. Um, and so, uh, but at we prepared for this and we held it at the high school, and this was the university's moment to shine. This was our main event. And down here, this is the one that happened on the 10th that we also helped co-organize. But the main one that I'd like to really highlight today is Encounters in Hope. And so what happened is we had the students start. We did an early morning at the Atomic Bomb Museum. We started at 8:30 before the crowds because of the timing of the 80th anniversary. Plus, it was also the day before the anniversary of the Nagasaki bombing. We had to get there early. But we wanted the Japanese students and the American students, to walk through the museum together. And we had them go in their groups that we had prearranged that they had been meeting in the Zoom breakout rooms. And so they went through the museum together, and our hope was that they would speak with each other and reflect and talk to each other about their feelings, how they would hope. And we emphasized this, and we said, please feel free to discuss. But as they moved through the museum, we saw this is not going to work because it was just so somber. And for most of them, it was their first time. And it's really hard when you're overwhelmed with the photographic evidence and actual realia of that day 80 years ago that are still left over. When you're faced with that in person, and for the students coming from the States who'd only ever seen these things in textbooks, nobody felt like speaking. So that was something that we learned from that they just really needed all to be able to reflect on their own in their own space, and which was fine because we had the afternoon to discuss and go through all of this together. So these are just pictures of them going through the museum here on the lower right. They had the chance to go, if I go back here at the top in the middle, this is the Memorial Hall, which is connected to the museum in a separate building, but all the names of the survivors are inscribed here at one end of the hall. And then that morning, they had arranged for several survivors were there to tell their stories. And so our students were sat down with one of the survivors here in this bottom picture, and then here on the bottom right. as she talked about her experience and her story. And with it being 80 years, she's at least in her 80s. She's this woman in particular was an elementary school student, so not very young, or not, sorry, not very old at that time. But s- I remember very little from when I was 5, 6, or in elementary school. But um, the survivors can't forget. So that this was an important part of their mourning to actually meet with someone and hear from the survivors' own personal experience with it, which just really made it that much more tangible. Then at lunchtime, we took them to Esumi Memorial Hall, which is at the high school campus, high school and junior high school campus. Um, these are just colorful foods or pictures of food um, that they had for lunch. But the important part of the lunch was we arranged for them to all eat lunch together at the high school so that they could sit down after this intense morning experience at the museum and either reflect with each other or decompress, or um, they had time to just have some casual personal time together. And a lot of them did talk about peace. A lot of them did talk about this. I should mention the students here in Japan, the students from Sophia are often Catholic or Christian, as um, it's just a bigger city. Um, Here in Nagasaki, we do have a lot of Catholics and Christians, but at the university, we have quite actually a small number of Catholic or Christian students compared to the student body. And a few there that day of ours were um, of the Catholic or a Christian faith, but um, most of them are Buddhist. And so that was another aspect that was, I think, really important. And we didn't focus so much on that, but it was important for them to just share. And they knew that they were sharing with they were going to be sharing with students from different backgrounds, different faiths. And so lunchtime was a time for them to talk to each other, reflect on what they did in the morning, how they felt. This was kind of the point where they could have those conversations that we wanted them to have in the morning at the museum that they weren't able to have because of just the nature of what they saw and of the nature of the place. So lunchtime was an important time for them to get that chance to talk because from the afternoon we held the student dialogue, and this is where the conversations in the spirit came into full play face to face after having practiced online. And so um, here's just a little bit about conversations in the spirit. It's in the Catholic sense, it's a way to have conversation. It's very active listening. And in the education world, we would say active listening, but it's full on active listening where one speaker speaks at a time. You're given a topic, or there might not be a topic, but there's often a topic. And you have a small group of people, and it's a fishbowl activity where um, a fishbowl activity means that when you look in a fishbowl, you can see everything. And the fish looks out and can see he's being looked at. And so there's no hiding in a fishbowl activity. And what's important about this is that everyone is given the chance to speak. And even those who are shy or don't feel that, I guess, wouldn't normally feel the push to speak or the motivation, this gives them the chance because everyone's very non-judgmental. They're just listening. You can say what you want to say. Everyone gets a turn one by one. There's no over talking. And um and then after each person there's a time allowed for reflection. And there's no discussion. So everyone gets their own chance and their own time to talk. And then the reflection allows for everyone who listened to take notes, to reflect on what was said, to connect it to their own experience, ideas, or opinions. And then a second round starts. In the second round, you there's still no discussion, but you can voice those reflections or what spoke to you or what really stood out. And again, everyone goes one by one with time for a reflection afterwards, so that you really have to sit there and think about it. And then in the third round of conversation, this is where participants are given uh, the freedom to discuss, and then they can start to through discussion they begin to explain, you know, maybe their opinion. They can start to share their ways of thinking. This is where ideas start develop, and the motivation comes in to, well, what if we did this and let's do that. So this is just a description very briefly in Japanese about this method. But it's called the conversation in the spirit because this kind of method allows for the spirit to enter and guide each participant. And a lot of the students from the States said they really felt the spirit, the presence there that day. And of course, our students here from Nagasaki, didn't quite understand that description or that concept, but we said we didn't call it conversation in the spirit. We just called it the conversation method for the sake of different faith believers. But we just told them that feeling that you're getting of listening to each other actively, of taking notes and reflecting on what other people are saying, and having other people reflect on what you're saying, and that active listening and that communication is the spirit that we're talking about. And so here you can see this is the first round where students were speaking one by one. Each group had a facilitator. The facilitators were people on the, I shouldn't say people, they were faith leaders on the pilgrimage or professors from the universities with the capability to facilitate. We had 6 groups and we had 6 facilitators who were able to go back and forth between both languages in order to help the students. This is just a little bit more on the conversation method, the converse that we used, and just being really aware about your own airtime, being curious about what other people are saying and not dismissing other people's views. Very non-judgmental, and this ended up working wonderfully. However, there were practical considerations. Those were that, again, it's a strangely practical art. It's not that easy to understand at first. It relies on really good communication, that intense, active listening. It was difficult for especially the Japanese students from Nagasaki, with the only experience was in July online. But again, because of thank you to AI and what the summit is mostly, that's a big part of the summit this weekend. But thanks to AI, with Google Translate or their cell phones there on the table, everyone was encouraged to have your cell phone out, have the translator on. If you don't understand something, don't hesitate to use your native language to ask and to speak, and because all of the facilitators had multiple language capabilities, it went very smoothly. And so then here, this is, I believe, you can see her in the corner on the right. One of the students is holding her phone in order to help explain what she's trying to say. On the bottom right here, we have students making notes. But at this point in round three, they were given time for free discussion, but the point of round three was to make student intercessions. So this was August 8th, and August 9th is was the anniversary of the atomic bomb. And on the evening of August 9th was the Peace Memorial Mass. And so the point of round three of this, we needed to have kind of a goal. Um, and so the point of round three was to take their opinions, the feelings they had, the experiences they'd had so far in Japan, the university students, the Japanese students, their own experience growing up in Japan, the ones here in Nagasaki being surrounded in daily life by these nuclear issues, peace building, putting all of that together to make student intercessions that would be uh, given the next night at the Peace Memorial Mass. And so each group had to come up with one statement. It could be multiple sentences, but it had to be one intercession for one group, and they had to bring their ideas together. And it worked really well. We came up with six beautiful intercessions due to time at the Mass on Saturday night, on the 9th. We were only able to have two, present two of the intercessions. But on the 10th, at the symposium the next day, which was something we helped coordinate at Urakami Cathedral, the remaining four were given. So these are just pictures of students in thought, in discussion, listening to each other, and this couldn't have gone better as an educator. I want to use the conversation in the spirit, although wouldn't be able to call that in the spirit because my students wouldn't understand, but this conversation method, adjusting it to fit my own classes or my own students' discussion needs. I think it really worked wonders in getting them actively listening and involved and opening up to other ideas and opinions. And it just went very smoothly and it couldn't have gone better. So again, the two of the six intercessions that the students came up with were given at the Peace Memorial Mass on the following day. Of course, on this day, there were events all day long, and in the morning, there was the commemorative ceremony where the mayor comes out and speaks, and important people speak. High school students, junior high school students, elementary school students are coming out and singing and giving cranes that the students perhaps made 1,000 cranes. It's a day full of beautiful activities to remember the survivors and the not only the survivors, but those who lost their lives to the bomb. And just a beautiful day to remind us that this should never again happen. And Nagasaki's motto is Nagasaki should be the last A-bombed city. There are only two, thankfully, but it shouldn't even be two. But Nagasaki's motto is often "Let us be the last A-bombed city." And so that evening during the intercessions, four of our students who kindly agreed to go up well, two groups were chosen. The ones out of the six intercessions, the two that most closely reflected a intercession that would be given at a Catholic Mass. Those two were chosen by President Sakamoto here, my president here at this university. And they were given both in English and Japanese for the sake of our all the guests, not only on the pilgrimage, but all of the foreign guests that had come. It was hundreds of people. You can see it in the top here in the middle. Hundreds of people had come in the beautiful Urakami Cathedral, which unfortunately did not survive the blast, but it was rebuilt soon after. And it's a gorgeous venue for it's just beautiful. I I absolutely love it, and I recommend anyone who has not been there, definitely a place to see. And so they read their intercessions in English and Japanese, which is why you can see on the left, up in the front on the stage, we have a Japanese student, an American student, Japanese student, American student. And so group one, I'll just read it in English. You can read the Japanese if you need Japanese language assistance. But group one's intercession went like this. Lord, we pray in this place, surrounded by unimaginable suffering and sorrow 80 years ago, where we have nurtured the small seed of hope with our exchange of gifts. Allow this peace to grow in our hearts and help us to bear witness to your love until the day we rest in your peace forever. And then the second group who was chosen, their intercession goes like this. Our Lord, help us to remove the needles of pain and hate from our hearts, and help us to forgive, respect, and love in a way so that our differences help us grow together and build a community that reflects the past. Trying not to tear up, those are really beautiful, and I'm just so proud of what the students accomplished in that one day, that one short time that they really had to intensely work together. So after the Mass, we did a candlelight vigil and a short pilgrimage, just a walk to the ground zero, which is not too far from the cathedral. These are photos, and this bust of the Virgin Mary, which survived the blast but is quite damaged, sits in the cathedral as a reminder kind of hope and what can survive. And so she was carried at the front of the pilgrimage at the line, and hundreds of people with actual torches and many with candles followed. And it was really beautiful. I'm trying to find, I don't know if there's a picture here. Here you can see some of the students. This group that I was lucky to end up walking with actually recited and came up on the spot with their own intercessions that evening as they walked to ground zero, which took about 25 minutes with the amount of people, but just continuous on the spot intercessions. And I was so moved by their motivation to do that and pray for the world and for those who had suffered and for those who are experiencing and suffering the current wars that are going on now. And we ended the pilgrimage on, it was, everyone went back on the 11th, but on the 10th was the last final day. And this was, again, PWNW, along with the Archdiocese of Nagasaki and some coordination with us here at the university, held a symposium called Walking Together, a gathering of pilgrims for peace. This is just a bit about it. And again, the same universities, it's just announcing that the Archdiocese, the four Archdioceses, PWNW, the universities all gathered. I don't have time to go through what everything that we did, but here's where the student panel happened. These are just a selection of students, not all of the students, but a selection of students who either were asked to reflect on their experiences on Encounters in Hope, the event from October 8th, what they learned from it, how they want to move forward from here regarding peace or regarding their own view of peace through the Catholic lens. And then the four remaining intercessions, which were read by the four remaining groups, again, with both a Japanese student and an American student in order to have both languages. And this is a picture of them reciting those intercessions. And these are the remaining four intercessions. So, group two, may we have the courage to transcend violence by being humble disciples of peace. Amongst the sound of silence, we remember the suffering of those in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and keep their memory alive. Group three's intercession. For all of us gathered here today and all the people of the world, that we share with one another this memory and witness of victims of nuclear destruction, so that we imagine and work towards a world in which these crimes are never committed again, and renew our commitment to unconditional love of one another and protection of all life. Group 5's intercession. The important first steps to peace building are recognizing our responsibility, teaching the younger generations the importance of peace, and embracing differences of opinion. We, as future faith leaders, political leaders, and educators, commit to normalizing peace-building conversations that will lead to a peaceful world. And Group 6, the final intercession. We must work for a world of true peace, free of nuclear weapons, by inspiring hope, empathy, and interest, by using art and media to factually educate the next generation. While striving to continue dialogue, fostering mutual understanding and respect for the diverse approaches to peace building across regions and nations, we, as brothers and sisters sharing the one and only home we call Earth, must listen to the voices of the Hibakusha and downwinders to realize true peace. This last one, the student members were from New Mexico, and the downwinders are the people who live nearby the atomic bomb test site, who suffered as well, and they are often overlooked in talks about World War II or the effects of the nuclear bombs. And the hibakusha is the Japanese word for the atomic bomb survivors here in Japan. So you can see some of these intercessions don't sound quite so Catholic in nature or like they might belong in a mass, but I think they do. But you can hear different voices. You can hear that people from different backgrounds and faiths came together to make them, I think, which is what makes them so special. I'm a little bit over time, so I'll just skip over this. This is just moving forward things that we think that we can do. The students, the faculty and staff from the United States that came over, myself included, some of the opinions that came out afterwards in feedback that I received, ways to move forward, ways to keep this going. And I'd just like to end with a quote from the Peace Memorial Mass on the evening of August 9th. Archbishop Nakamura, that's spelled wrong. I can't believe I didn't catch that. I'm sorry about that. Archbishop Nakamura at one point said, "Will true peace come to this town that I love? That depends. That depends on how you live your life." And I just want to end with this because when I heard him say that, I thought, it does depend on how we each live our lives, and that's kind of that was one of the moments I thought, this is where I need to become more active in peace studies. So with that, I will stop here, and I thank you very much for listening to my presentation on the pilgrimage.
ありがとうございました。先生、豊かですね。そのアメリカと日本のすごいコラボレーションで、特に本当に、アメリカ人の神父様は避けたいとかね、言ってましたけど、やっぱりアメリカ人にとっては8月9日とかもう本当に痛くない日本にっていうぐらい、そういう本当に大事な時のアメリカと日本の学生っていうのは本当に準備する側もちょっとなかなか大変だろうなと思うんですけど、でも未来のある方たちがそれについて考えて準備して、何かをするってことはすごい将来を作ることになるので非常に大きなプロジェクトですね。
はい、
素晴らしい。
そうでした。
頑張ってくださ
本
い。
当に学生だけに、準備している間には、学生の影響はの影響を考えていた
そうで
とか、
すね。
私までの影響は、そんなに考えてなかったのに、もう実際に経験したら、すごい、影響がありましたので、it was inspiring not only for the students, but in the end for me as well. So it had a tremendous impact on everyone involved.
いや、すごい。やっぱり精霊が一緒に構築してくれて、一緒に考えて、やっぱピースですよね。平和の精霊がやっぱりみんなをつないでくれて考えさせてくれるっていうのはすごい大事な、素晴らしい。神をね、入れてやってるっていうのがよく写真から見てもわかりますけど、素晴らしいですね。
はい、
これからも頑張ってってください。大変だと思いますけど、続
はい、
けてください。
はい。
ねえ、やっぱり世界で原爆って言ったらもうすぐ長崎、広島って、信者でも未信者でもどの外国人でも必ず言うので、まあ私は全然違うところにいるけれども、やっぱりそれについて日本人としてまた答えなきゃいけないので、特に長崎とか、広島の人だったら特にまたそれを詳しく聞かす、言わなきゃいけないチャンスが外国に行けば行くほど聞きたい人がやっぱりいっぱいいるので、今のうちに学生さんたち聞かれても答えれるように、特に長崎だったら特に聞かれますよね。ぜひ
はい。
ね、準備していったらいいですね。
はい。ただ
うん、
一つの問題、最近、まあ、私、昨日もちょっと、その平和構築の
うん、
イベントが、
うん、
あって、
うん、
やっぱり長崎で、もう毎年毎年必ず、9
うん、
日に、
はい。
まあ、みんなが学校に、まあ、週末でも学校に行って、ピーススタディーズを行ってますけど、やっぱり、あの、まあ、心配なのは、まあ、
うん、
させるのは、それは、させすぎると、
うん、うん、
逆にもう、
うん、
普通とか
うん、
考えなくなり
うん、
ますので、
そうですね。
あの、でも、まあ、どうしても
うん、
大事な
うん、
トピック、大事な話な
うん、
ので、
うん、
その、まあ、嫌な気持ちとか、
うん、
もう
うん、
話さなくていい気持ち、い
うん、
つも話してるから話さ
うん、
なくていい気持
うん、
ちがないように、ちょっと
うん、
考えないといけないですね。
うん、ありすぎますもんね。長崎といえ
はい。
ばもうすぐその話ですからね。変な意味で慣れちゃって避けたくなったりとか、まあそういうのもあるかなと思いますけどもね。
はい。
うん、そ
でも、
こに
やっぱり、
うん、
もう続けないといけないですね。
そうですね。う
それは
ん。
しょうがありません。
しょうがないですね。もうそこに生まれたからには特にその使命がね、やっぱりあるか、世界に対して言う使命があると思いますね。信者
はい。
であろうが、未信者であろうが、長崎
はい。
人としてはね。
私も、強く初めて
うん、
人生で感じた、人生っていうか、
う
自分の
ん、
子供たちが生まれてか
うん、
ら、
うん、
初めて
うん、
感じたのは、私の、
うん、
子供も被爆者の
うん、
ひ孫なので、
うん、
私の子3人も
うん、
責任があり
うん、
ます。
そうです
で、
ね。伝える
3人
責任。
のお母さんとして私も責任
うん、
がありま
う
すねと、
ん、
初めて
やっ
強く感じ
ぱりね。
て、
うん、
それも一つの、今からもうちょっと
うん、
頑張らないといけないねと、
そうですね。
のきっかけですね。
そうですね。さらにカトリックだったら、カトリックとしてってさらにプラスで聞かれますよね。
ね、はい。
はい、うん、私もイタリアにしょっちゅう行きますけど、永井先生の本が3冊イタリア語訳されてるんですけど、
あ
やっぱりこう8月とかその時になると、原爆、長崎、永井隆ってこう出るぐらい、い
ですよ
や、
ね。
そんな
はい。
に有名なんだと思うぐらい、ニョコ動随筆とあと2冊出てるんですけど、やっぱりそれ
ね、
について日本人は何て言ってるんだとかですね、いろいろ聞かれるんですよね。まあ、幸いに読んでるから、言いやすいんですけれども、はい、やっぱりね、誇りであり、証人であり、証言でありっていう方ですからね、特にカトリックだし、彼は本を書いてるからこそ、また伝えやすいので、私たちも、ちょっとね、それをプラスアルファして聞かれた時にすぐ答えれるように、準備していきたいなと思いますね。先生みたいに、
はい。
外国の方たち、直接学生同士こうコラボレーションさせるようなチャンスを持ってるんだったら、余計子どもたちは言うチャンスとありますからね。それ
はい。
はぜひぜひ準備してたらいいですね。
はい。頑張ります。
頑張って子供たちも頑張ってですね。
はい。
うん、はい、他の方たちどうでしょうか。先生に聞きたいこと、日本語でも英語でも大丈夫ですよ。はい、どうでしょうか。長崎にいらっしゃるね、貴重な体験で。はい、ご質
Now,
問は。
anybody like to ask a question, please uh, give us a little wave or write on the Q&A button.
うん
Are you already planning the next year, or how often do you think, Sensei, do you think, well, since it was such an inspiring an event, I think like this really take a lot of planning, but I guess there will be another one in the future, maybe.
I hope so. I don't know. We, to be honest, we're quite a small private university. It would be quite difficult for us to arrange one, but we would love to host future guests who come to Nagasaki with peace studies in mind, or this kind of pilgrimage, this kind of event.
Yeah.
I would really be interested. I was inspired in many ways to with lots of and the inspiration gave me lots of ideas. Whether I can move forward with some of them or not, I don't know. But one thing I would love to do is take my own students to Santa Fe.
Yeah.
So many people come to Nagasaki or Hiroshima for that, to learn about peace or the atomic bombing,
Yeah.
everything that happened at that time. But I would love to take my students over to Santa Fe to give them that experience. I have never been to New Mexico myself. And so that's something that I would love to do in the future. Um,
Yeah.
Kind of depends on the exchange rate. The yen is
Yeah.
horribly cheap right now.
No, yeah.
And so for us, unfortunately, for us to go anywhere would cost
Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah.
way too much than probably most of us can afford. So way more than we could come up with, but maybe with some grants or the I would love I didn't have time to talk about her in my presentation, but Professor Mariah Gomez at the University of Santa Fe and the University of New Mexico in Santa Fe. That's her specialty, and she spoke for about a half an hour, 40 minutes at the cathedral on the
Mm.
10th at the symposium about the downwinders, the effect of the atomic bomb testing on the residents nearby, how they're overlooked and forgotten, how and it was really moving. And she brought a bottle of dirt from a nearby church,
Mm.
a holy site, and brought dirt as an offering to the Archbishop Nakamura here in Nagasaki, and apologized on behalf of the American people. And it was so moving. And I thought, I really wish I could get my students to Santa Fe.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a worthy project to work on at least anyway. Yeah, there might be, well, I'm sure there'll be many challenges, but it'd be well worth it, especially because it sounds like it would be unique as well, you know?
I think quite unique. And now that we're post-pandemic,
Mm.
to some
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah.
um, I think it's possible. It's just thanks to the Japanese yen,
Yeah.
we'd
Yeah.
have to, yeah.
Well, there were times where the yen was quite nice for those living here
Yes.
in the US.
Yes.
It was a bit of a wave now,
20, 20 years ago. Oh,
I know.
those were the
Yeah,
days.
I know. Yes. Yeah. So still open for questions here. Anybody would like to ask a question? And
質問のある方はいらっしゃいませんか？
This was a pretty unique program. It was a pretty unique experience. Not nothing I'd ever done like it. Something I likely won't do again
mm,
soon, but I would love to. I'd love to, but so much came out of this pilgrimage for me that I wasn't expecting.
yeah,
The kindness of the pilgrims, the
yeah,
the members, the participants themselves,
mm,
so non-judgmental,
mm,
so kind,
yeah,
and and they all, I mean, just in casual conversation, in daily interactions with them,
mm,
they were all employing active listening and this kind of awareness of different opinions or different backgrounds or different ideas, and the kindness that came out of this group just kind of reinvigorated something in me, and just needing to become more active, and myself needing to give more, and just just helping get this message, this,
Mm,
peace is so
mm.
so vital for we live in a day and age where it just everything goes downhill so quickly.
Yeah. I think, yeah, working for peace is hard work. I think, peacemakers, well, it takes courage to stand up and ask for peace or demand peace. And then it's also uh, to be able to, well, some people convince people to, I guess. But I think standing up for peace, though, um, it can be difficult. It takes courage, I mean, there's plenty of examples around the world where peace is needed and the voices for peace can be drowned out, So uh, blessed are the peacemakers, as our phrase
Exactly.
is, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that gives great encouragement, knowing that it's what God wants of us, to be peacemakers. Mm.
And I would love to get his I would so I just really felt the pull to be to be doing that. And as a mom of three, that they would be fourth generation
Yeah,
atomic bomb survivors, and my husband, their father, is a third generation. His grandmother is the atomic bomb survivor, but I felt kind of that lineage, that connection is
yeah,
kind of calling to me and my unfortunately my children are still a little too young, and
yeah.
but now's the time to start surrounding them with those kind of messages and trying to, like I said, I hope to take them to an event next month. It's a citywide event for ideas on how to move forward with peace, and again, it's kind of another discussion event. And the last one that they held was I think the youngest participant was 8 and the oldest was 80 something. And so I
Yeah.
thought I'm going to take my kids and see if we can't get
Yeah.
them inspired a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it'd be a great experience for them, for yourself too.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's well, continue battling away with that. Battling is the wrong word to use for peace, but you have to fight for peace. I think these days, anytime you have to. But I think it was great for you to make this presentation with us today, especially because I'd heard of the pilgrimage coming to Japan, and by some folks here up at Sophia University. So. Uh, but it was something that was probably not so well known generally.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so that was why I thought it was important to have this message and have a voice from that meeting. So we're delighted that you accepted the
And
challenge.
thank you for giving me the platform to do it. So I would love to get the word out even more, just the style of the event of having that interconnectedness and that deep conversation and people from, across borders, and
Mm,
the the both the
mhm.
telecollaboration, the in-person work. It was so many different aspects that all came together that just made this one very unique experience. And I'd love for other people to be able to do that in the future.
Great. So, well, thank you very much again,
Yep.
ありが
Shannon
とうござい
Sensei,
ます。
Thank you so much.
and
頑
we're
張ってく
just
ださい。これか
はい。
らも。
はい。これからも頑張ります。
よろしく、日本とアメリカのパイプ役。
はい。
よろしくお願いします。
はい。